Welcome to this short video with key parts from the full workshop of rest, recovery and recharge. So let's start with sleep and the stages of sleep. And there are 5 stages of sleep. The first one of these is our light sleep, when we're drifting off to sleep. And this is when our body is starting to relax, the waves from our brains are becoming slower, and we have limited eye movement, and the muscle activity in our eyes are reducing. It's in this stage that if you got woken, you'd be a little bit startled and it would take you a little bit to come round, because we're not fully in that deep sleep. The next stage is stage 2, where we go a little bit deeper into that sleep and our brain starts slowing those brain waves down. But every now and again, we get some fast brain waves going in there. Our eye movement stops and our muscles in our eyes reduce, the activity reduces even further. Once we get to stage 3 and 4, this is deep sleep. And this is where we're almost exclusively got delta waves from the brain, which is really, really slow brain waves. And at this point, our body is doing lots and lots of restorative processes. And in fact, 95% of our growth hormone is produced during this deep stage of sleep. And it's often during this stage of sleep, maybe children might appear sleepwalking or maybe bedwet or have night terrors. And if we're woken during this stage, it would take us a long time to come round, and we would feel particularly groggy and not ready to awaken. And the final stage is REM stage, and this is rapid eye movement. And during this stage, there's lots and lots of changes happening in our brain and restorative things happening in our brain. And we're getting ready to come out of the full sleep cycle when we're in this REM stage of sleep. And often it's during this stage that we might have our dreams, and people often report irrational thinking and strange things that have happened in their brain during this stage, which is often known as dreams. So in the full workshop, we explore a lot more around the sleep cycle and the importance of it, and look at the percentage of time you would spend within each area of that sleep cycle. But let's now move on to think about why on earth it's so important that we sleep. Well, first of all, we have that neuron repair and connection. And a lot of this happens within that REM stage of sleep, where our neurons are repairing from the day and connections are being made. I also alluded to the release of growth hormone, which is primarily in the deep stage of sleep. And this is really important for children and young adults when they're going through, rapid times of growth. It's also critical for increasing protein production and decreasing the breakdown of protein, which are in fact the building blocks of every cell in our body. So it's critical for our cell repair and growth. And it also does repair the damage of UV rays. So in actual fact, might be beauty sleep, as it's called. The next one is that there's lots of brain activity for emotions, decision making and interactions that go on during the day and can be very, very exhausting. So it's a time to let our brain rest from all that busy activity so that it's ready for the day ahead. And finally, in terms of the immune system, sleep is imperative for our immune system. When we're asleep, our body creates more cytokines, which are critical in the immune response. So when we get ill, our body releases these cytokines to fight that infection. And it also does have a sleep-inducing response as well, which is why when we're ill, we do feel tired, because it's an important thing for our body to rest so that we can repair. So the more of these cytokines we have available, the more readily our body is to fight infection. And now moving on to the risks of not sleeping. We've discussed why sleep, but what about the risks of not sleeping? Well, you've got an increased risk of diabetes. When we sleep, our hormones get regenerated, and one of these in particular is insulin, which is critical in the management of diabetes and ensuring that blood sugars are not left in the blood causing damage. So this helps regulate the insulin that the pancreas produces. The next one is weight gain. So adding to these hunger hormones is ghrelin and leptin, and sleep regulates our levels of ghrelin, which is what makes you feel hungry, and regulates the leptin, which is what makes you feel full and creates that sense of satiety. So if those hormones are not operating as they should be, we are at risk of weight gain. Hormones Also regenerated when we sleep include testosterone, estrogen and progesterone, which are our reproductive organs. So if we're not letting those regenerate, we are putting ourselves at risk of reproductive problems. And cardiovascular health, when we have lack of sleep, our blood pressure increases and inflammation as well, which are both risk factors for cardiovascular health. And finally, our mental health. We all know that when we haven't sleeping, we feel mentally drained, and it puts us at higher risk of many different mental health problems and many psychological conditions. So in the workshop, we delve a lot more into the different types of stresses, the impact and what you can actually do and your individual solution. However, we're going to dive straight into some top tips to help you sleep. So the first one of these is caffeine. And by not having caffeine at the right times or having too much, this can impair our sleep. It's advised that we get no more than 400 milligrams per day. An average cup of tea has about 80 milligrams. And it's also important to be mindful of the half hour of caffeine, which is about 5 to 7 hours. So if you stop your caffeine intake at lunchtime, at maybe at 12 o'clock, you're still going to have half that caffeine in your system at 7 o'clock at night. So it's really advised to curb that caffeine early on and be mindful about your quantity so that it does not impair your sleep. The second one is avoid a daytime nap. If you are feeling like you need a nap during the day, maybe this is a signal that you're a little bit too tired. And if you do desperately need a sleep, to catch up on sleep, because there's lots of unforeseen circumstances when we can't sleep, then maybe try and have that nap earlier on so that it doesn't affect your nighttime sleep. The next one is try to keep times consistent and really support your circadian rhythm so that we have a good routine for going to sleep. So rather than maybe having only a few hours sleep during the week and catching up with lots and lots of sleep at a weekend, try to make that a little bit more evenly spread so that we get similar bedtimes and similar wake times every night. I do appreciate that this is not always possible, but try to adhere to it as well as you can. The fourth one, is to relax and prepare for sleep an hour before bed. So rather than dashing around and increasing your cortisol levels straight before bed, try and have a relaxing routine. Maybe try and chill out, read a book, have a bath, and do things that really slow you down and prepare you for that sleep time. Number 5 is being mindful of alcohol, and I think more so over the last few years, people's alcohol intake has increased, and it is really a means to relaxation for a lot of people. And although people might not think they have a drink problem because they're not getting up in the morning for a bottle of vodka and they're not having to go to groups to sort themselves out, I think alcohol intake is slowly on the rise. And often it might be the stressful lives that are leading to this, but try to change your association with relaxation so that it's not always going for a glass of wine, for a beer. Try to think of other things that could replace those ways to relax. And if you are going to have a drink, be mindful about it. Be aware that it will dehydrate you. It does lower your mood. It does, reduce your productivity the next day. And it does impair your sleep as well. When we've had alcohol, we might think that it sends us to sleep, like when we say we have a nightcap, but in fact, it doesn't let us go into that deep restorative sleep. So it does impair our sleep. The next one is minimize your blue light. We all know that we shouldn't be on phones late at night, but it's sometimes quite difficult in a busy world with lots and lots of temptations and things pinging on our phone to alert us that new things have come through. However, try to minimize that blue light and maybe put bars on your phone so that you can only use it during a certain amount of time during the day, because this is really going to stimulate your mind before bed and impact on your circadian rhythm, which is all about the light exposure during the day. Number 7, get a comfy mattress. It will improve your sleep quality, which will impact on your physical and mental health. Number 9, avoid negative noise. So how often do we see things on social media or on the news, or even talk to people that create a negative noise before we go to sleep? And then as we go to sleep, our mind can become more active and these things can aggravate us even more, which can stop us going to sleep. So try and avoid that negative noise. And finally, try journaling. If you've got something in your mind that is stopping you from going to sleep, then just write it down, because once it's written down, you feel like it's out of your mind. Or if there's something that you think you've got to do the next day, it's going to play on your mind until the morning. Write it down, and then you know it's there in front of you when you wake up the next day. The workshop does include lots and lots of other tips, but for today, I've provided you with 10. Hope those were useful. And finally, I'm going to introduce you to my Reddy acronym. My surname is Anna Reddy, but it's spelled Reddy. This is spelled Ready. And this can be used in many different situations, whether it's trying to pinpoint what are the key things that you need to do for your health, whether it's to be used in the morning when you wake up and you don't feel 100% and you just want to make yourself slightly more productive for the day. It can be used in all different ways. In this situation, I'm going to be relating it to sleep, focusing on the sleep. However, I do use it in many different workshops and focus on different elements of it. So what does READY stand for? Well, R stands for rest, recharge, recover, which is what this is all about. So I'd really like you to just assess, where are you in your journey now? Maybe write it down on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest. Where are you in terms of your rest, recharge and recover? And be aware of how you need to improve that. The next one is E. Think about what you eat, and could that be impacting on your sleep? Are you making sure that you've got enough fuel inside you for an energetic day so that then you're ready to sleep? Are you making sure that you're having the right nutrients that are promoting sleep? As I said, are you making sure that you're limiting caffeine? And are you really, really nourishing yourself so that your body's in a good place, your mind is in a good place and able to sleep? A is for activity. So make sure that you get enough activity during the day so that you do feel like you're tired and ready to sleep. It's important, though, to accept that there is a balance between exercise. It is not just a line that goes straight up. You can actually get too much exercise, which could then be impacting on your sleep because your stress levels are too high. However, in the majority of cases, the more activity, the better to supporting your sleep. And also think about your timings with sleep. Maybe with activity, maybe try not to do that activity just before bed, as again, this will not be relaxing you. But maybe try and do it at least a couple of hours before you go to sleep. And D is distractions. We've talked about that negative noise, but also think about your positive noise as well. Who are the positive people around you that can leave you feeling happy? What are the positive things you can listen to as well that leave you feeling happy? How can you practice gratitude maybe before you go to sleep? Going to sleep on a positive note will really, really enhance the quality of your sleep. And finally, make sure that whatever you do is all about you. There is not one size fits all. It is your body. You will have an individual amount of sleep that is optimum for you. It is your mind. It is your world. And so it is your plan. So make sure that you devise 3 steps which are specific to you that are going to help your rest, recharge, and recovery. And please remember, if you do have any questions or want to get in touch at all, please feel free to do so. It is anna@leaphealth.co.uk. My website is www.leaphealth.co.uk. I do have a podcast, Leap Health in the Workplace. And if you want to find me on social media, LinkedIn is a good place, which is Anna Reddy Leap Health. Please do keep in touch. Thank you.